Welcome to Real Estate Investing Abundance, the show for busy, fulfilled professionals like you to learn how to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. Now, here is your host, Dr. Alan Lomax.
Enlightened investors, delighted to be back with you again today. I'm your host, Dr. Allen. If you're tuning in for the first time, I hope you find value in the show and that you'll head over to stevetalker.com and enroll in our Enlightened Investor Circle, where you'll receive support for your investing goals, no matter what your level of expertise or experience. Our guest today has been committed to helping investors meet their financial goals for over 15 years. She is the co-founder of Keystone Capital Management Group and helped develop her company's trademark DNA process, Dynamic Needs Assessment, which is holistic and focuses on 5 key areas of financial well-being. Welcome to the show, Kim. Before we get into the little-known alternatives to 1031 sale and other pertinent investor tips, Kim, share an experience from your formative years that helped you to be the person you are today.
Thanks, Alan. It's great to be here. I have an uncle that used to haul milk on a farm in northern Minnesota. And I don't know if you remember those huge cans. I figured out one time how much weight he hauled in his milk truck. And when I was a youngster, I would get in the truck and I'd go from farm to farm with him while he would pick up those cans and haul it into the creamery. And he had 3 routes that he did. But when he reached 65, he was to get a pension from the creamery. And he wanted to get the largest amount on the pension. So that's the selection he made. And he passed away early because his body was worn out from hauling all that milk. And my aunt had to sell the farm. And all those things they worked for, they planted beautiful flower beds and they just did fun little things around the property. But she could not stay there because they didn't reach out to get a second opinion, to find out what his options would mean. And when he passed away, she got no income from all his years of working and hauling that milk. And I think that's the thing that breaks my heart. And that's where I get my passion from. We want to help people so they don't make those kinds of mistakes and that they have a great retirement life. Because really, when you think about it, people are retiring at 55 and 60, and that's 30 years of life. And those decisions are really important.
Yes, they are. What a critical lesson to learn, a heartbreaking lesson. But I can see how it has given you the passion to follow the work you have done. A wonderful way to turn that tragedy into something positive.
I agree.
You are the expert here on financial planning, and you've had a lot of expertise with 1031. I understand that now is a volatile time to locate 1031 commercial properties. Why is this such a volatile time?
Right now, with the COVID and small businesses having people work from home, a lot of commercial property is standing vacant or people are giving up their leases. And the business culture is changing. I think there's certain areas where they're still positive. I believe apartment buildings, some of those kinds of things can be positive. But switching and doing an exchange for a property that might not have a renter and then would stand vacant and you not get any income on your property, or to make the exchange and then have that property drop in price because the market is volatile in the commercial area. I think we're seeing a huge upswing. And here in Arizona, residential property is just going crazy. And so it depends on the kind of real estate. But definitely, if you're looking for commercial property, we're seeing lots of commercial pieces standing empty. And then you aren't getting the income stream that you hope to get when you do the 1031 exchange, or if that commercial property decreased in value, that would be difficult as well.
Before we go any further, explain to us what is a 1031 exchange. Just give us the basics of that.
Yeah, that sounds good, because I don't want to go too far into it, but a 1031 exchange, that 1031 stands for a tax code that refers to it. And if you have business investment property and you sell it, let's say for $100,000, and you invested $50,000, then you would have, when you sell it, you would have to pay tax on that $50,000. What a 1031 exchange allows is for you to exchange the property for another investment property and not have to pay tax on that $50,000 capital gain. So you can take the proceeds of the $100,000, buy another property, and receive income, an income stream off of that $100,000, and not have to pay the capital gains tax at that time. The gain stays with the property, and there's a time if you sell it later, you still have to pay it, but it's a deferral of that capital gains and allows for the income. And there's some specific rules that you have to have a qualified intermediary that manages that exchange. It has to be like for like property. You have to identify the property within 45 days, and then you have to sell with or make the exchange within 180 days. So there's very specific points to make that allowable with the IRS. But it's a great opportunity to defer that capital gain and make income off of that, off of the tax that you would have had to send in.
Right. Yeah, it is a good vehicle. You can continue to defer on the next sale. You can also do another 1031
Right.
and continue just pushing that forward.
But you are absolutely right that you can keep rolling those properties to another 1031 exchange.
Yeah, you can keep rolling that over until your death. It is wiped out at that point in time. Your heirs don't inherit that deferment.
That's correct. Your heirs do not inherit that.
I said they don't inherit that deferment. They don't inherit the tax penalty.
Yes, the tax on that. There's the stepped up basis that is available to your heirs when they receive that property.
Yeah.
But 1031 is a great vehicle, but I have dealt with clients that have done the 1031 in a market where they aren't getting the income stream they hope to get from that. And to have a significant portion of your investments tied up because it's not liquid and you don't have a renter, it can be very painful for clients. Or I've seen clients that they just struggled with income in their retirement because they weren't getting that income stream off of the 1031 property that they had. There's always pros and cons with every option you take, and it's not like you can't then look for another property, but if the value of that property decreased, it might impact what you're able to get into the next time.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Would you ever invest all your money in a single stock? Very unlikely. Yet investors are willing to risk $50,000 to $100,000 in a single property in real estate all the time. Avestor is the world's first customizable real estate investment platform. Investors can build their own custom portfolios selecting investments across multiple asset classes such as single-family homes, multifamily, student housing, self-storage, and shopping centers. You can also invest across multiple markets and different time frames. Avestor also enables other real estate entrepreneurs and syndicators to build and use Avestor's infrastructure and cloud platform to create their own customizable real estate funds. To learn more, visit us at avestorinc.com. Avestor, real estate investing made simple.
1031 exchanges are good when they work, but like you said, there's the 45 days, which is a complication, and that's a short period of time, and sometimes it just does not work. And then there's the other 180-day stipulation, and neither of those have any flexibility. You either
Correct.
meet them or you do not. So even though 1031 is a good vehicle if it works, but there are a lot of instances where it is not going to work. You deal with clients not only with the 1031 exchange, but you also help to provide alternatives when the 1031s are not going to work. So tell us about the alternatives to the 1031.
We have started showing individuals what we call an intermediary installment sale. So in the code section of 453, and it's been there for years, and I'm sure most of your viewers, if they've done real estate transactions, they understand about an installment sale. So if you do an installment sale, you identify the sale proceed, you have the cost basis, and then if you receive payments on that sale, you only have to pay a portion of the tax every time you receive that payment. So let's say you maybe on that same example I gave before, let's say you were going to receive payments of $5,000 for 10 years, then 50% of that 5,000 would be taxable each year you receive it. So there's a percentage that's put together to show the gain of that payment that you receive. So the percentage gain that you have on the entire sale is applied to every payment that you receive until the full installment sale is paid off. So the IRS lets you defer that based on how you're actually receiving the payments, which is also a good deal. But what happens sometimes, and the risk, is you're then relying on the buyer to make those payments. Or I've got one client who's receiving payments, but he's going to receive a balloon payment at the end, and it's a large balloon payment, and he knows he's going to have a significant tax bill at the time that balloon payment happens. The other thing that can happen is sometimes when those installment sales are structured, there's or the buyer has an option to pay it off. So you can be thinking, I'm going to get $5,000 a year for 10 years. And all of a sudden the buyer says, oh, I got some money, I'm going to pay it off. That interrupts or impacts how you were planning to pay that tax. So what we have been working with a company that what they will do is set up a trust, and you put your property in the trust, and the trust does the installment sale or does the sale. It doesn't even have to be an installment sale. Actually, it allows you to do an outright sale. So I misspoke. So you put your property in the trust, you go ahead with the sale, the funds are inside the trust, and you've got your money. The trust has it, but you don't have to pay tax because it's still inside the trust. And then you control through this trust how those payments are going to come out of there and when you'll pay the tax on that or the capital gains on that sale. So it's a great opportunity. You could pay the tax they allow you to go as long as 20 years. I think you can push it, but we've been setting up the program for a 20-year distribution of the sale proceeds. And one of the things that you're doing then is you've got all the money up front. You don't have to worry about the property going down and the buyer maybe not being able to make your payment or changes in the market. So that's a positive. You have the cash, and then you can invest that cash and receive an income stream off of that property. So you're keeping the cash instead of paying it to the IRS, and you're making money on what you would have sent to the IRS. And if the sale is big enough and we do the projections on a 5 or 6%, it makes it worthwhile to defer paying the capital gains. One of the risks, of course, is with this intermediary installment sale, you do have to pay the capital gains by the end of the 20 years. You have to pay the tax at whatever that capital gains tax is in that year that you take the money out of the trust. So that can worry people about what is the capital gains rate going to be when I take the money out. The nice thing, if you look at the history of capital gains, a lot of times governments tax it higher and then it impacts business. And so then it goes through a cycle where they reduce the capital gains and then because they want to generate business, they want the economy to come back. And so capital gains goes through these cycles. And I think because you have the ability to decide when you're going to pay the tax or when you're going to do the distribution, you can take advantage of those things. The other issue is if you have other businesses, which a lot of times people that are doing these kinds of real estate sales, they may have some other businesses that they have some loss that they can offset against that. And that might be a good time to make a distribution from that trust. And as long as you leave the sales proceeds in the trust, there's no payment, but you have to take it out at some point by the end of the 20 years. You can then take an income stream like you would off of a 1031 where you're going to get your rent income. You can take an income stream from the income on that from the trust. And again, we've been running the numbers between 5 and 6%. That income stream you take is ordinary income. But it's a great way. You put your sales proceeds in, you receive a 5 or 6% income stream for 20 years, and then you decide when you're going to take the principal or the sales proceeds out and pay the tax.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. As an industry-leading, relationship-focused, design-build construction firm, Mosaic Construction has worked in many different asset classes from multifamily to retail, medical, industrial, and commercial. Mosaic Construction works to execute interior and exterior renovations with their team of trades and project managers. Their experience with value-add improvements has resulted in increased ROI and long-term value of the assets. They work nationally in partnership with local trades to deliver thoughtful, problem-solving construction management solutions to all their clients. For a personal, no-obligation consultation, call Ira Singer, 773-491-3145, or email Ira at mosaicconstruction.net. You can also find Ira on LinkedIn. Let me ask you this. You put the funds from this sale in this trust, and so you have the funds, and that trust then can go and invest those funds in an apartment complex. And that trust holds that property for 5 years. At that point in time, can that trust do a 1031 exchange?
That is, I don't know the answer to that for sure. I've not had that come up, but I just don't know. I would defer on that. So that's a great question, Alan. I don't want to mislead people. And this vehicle, you can reinvest in real estate, but if your intent was to buy into real estate again, then there might be some other tools. So there's actually one other type of sale, and it's called a monetized sale, a real estate sale. And those are designed not to have an income stream, but that you're going to take the money and reinvest that into property, and then that property would receive income. And at that point, I think then there would be the vehicle for the 1031 exchange or doing some of those. So that is one of the other issues that I wanted to identify was this monetized installment sale. I was going to focus today on this intermediary sale, that the solution is more about getting an income stream in your retirement where you're investing in investment positions that are more liquid and that you're getting an income from that rather than reinvesting back into real estate.
So there are some possibilities once you put it into this trust, and some things that investors are going to have to investigate here, but there certainly are possibilities. And if you are at a point where you need to exit your property, but your values are down for whatever reason, whether it's COVID or real estate goes in cycles. So there are always going to be cycles. When you're ready to sell, it just may not be an opportune time to do that. And so rather than doing the 1031 exchange, which is going to ultimately reduce your incomes, you're suggesting that they do this trust, and this way they can still defer the taxes. And if that's 20 years out, that could be advantageous for someone going into retirement, because by the time you reach that 20 years, your income is very likely to be reduced. So you're going to have a smaller tax penalty.
Absolutely. We also have options with that trust that you could do some things to invest in, even a life insurance policy, that if something happened to you, you've put money away that could pay that tax. So there's lots of solutions to do with that when you start looking at.
Anything else we need to discuss here in terms of outright sale as compared to the intermediate to sale?
One of the things I wanted to point out, there's some different programs out there about putting your property inside the trust. I have seen another program that will help you set up the trust, but what happens at the end of the 20 years, if you pass away, this company gets the proceeds. So I want to caution viewers, when you start looking for somebody to try and set up this kind of a sale, to be sure you ask some of those questions about what happens at the end of that 20 years. Make sure that those funds are your heirs or yours and not reverting back to the company, because it is possible that it can go to your heirs. One other thing, you can do multiple sales inside one trust. So I've got an individual that has 4 rental properties. And so they can set up the trust, a one-time setting up the trust. They can move the rental properties inside the trust, and then each time they sell, they can get the full proceeds from that sale, put it inside the trust, and then defer the taxes on that sale. It's a nice tool, even for somebody that has multiple properties.
Enlightened investors will be right back after this important announcement. I have a big ask that will only take a moment of your time. Ratings and reviews are the lifeblood of our podcast. So to leave a review, iPhone or other Apple iOS device users, go to Apple Podcasts or iTunes. For all you non-Apple device users, go to podchasers.com. On either platform, search for Real Estate Investing Abundance. Once found, please leave a review and a rating. Subscriptions are also vital to our show's success, so please be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. It is free to subscribe, and you can unsubscribe at any time.
One question I think I should have asked sooner is, what kind of trust is this? Is this a land trust? Is it a living trust? Or
Irrevocable trust.
An irrevocable trust. Okay. So I'm wondering if you could have this trust within your living trust.
I believe you could. I believe it could be a tool that you could set up along with that. So I do think you could do that.
I was thinking in terms of ascendancy. If your living trust is holding that trust, then the ascendancy issue would be pretty well taken care of from your living trust, I would think.
And your heirs can absolutely, let's say you put the property in there, you make the sale, and you're getting an income stream of 6% off of the investments that you have from that sale proceed. Your heirs can continue to get that income stream. So yes, I think it would be workable to put that inside your living trust and have your heirs continue to get your income stream until you got to the end of that. And then I think there are options then to roll and do some other things at the end of that 20 years.
Yeah, interesting concepts. Kim, are there other considerations that we need to look at in terms of deferring capital gains?
Some of these tools, I think the sale, because of the cost of setting up the trust and setting up the tools, there certainly has to be a certain amount of a size of the sale is important. And so one of the things that we offer people is to show how much tax we've got a report that if you will tell us what your sales proceeds are and what your cost basis is, then we can tell you how much tax you would have due on that scenario and give you an idea then if doing something like an intermediary installment sale would be worthwhile. And it will show a comparison of if you did use this tool versus if you just paid the tax, if it's worthwhile, because it is complicating your life to set up the trust, to get the income stream. And so it would be nice to see whether it makes sense to do it for that sale. And so we offer that service, and we're offering that today, that if you were willing to give us those three pieces, the sales proceed, the cost basis, and what state you live in, so we can look at what those state capital gains are along with the federal, then we would give you an idea of whether it's a scenario that would even make sense for you.
Viewers and listeners, this is a free service that Kim and her company are providing. You can reach them by going to their website, KeystoneGroupAZ.com, and just fill out their little contact form, and they will very rapidly get back to you. Once again, that is Keystone Group AZ for Arizona.com. And Kim has also offered to give you her phone number, and you can go directly to their phone and give them a call, and they will be delighted to go through this process with you. And that number is 623-299-9710. You can also find this information in our show notes. Kim, let's go into our last segment and share one of your most difficult setbacks in life, and how did you come through that time, and what did you learn from the experience?
I think one of the most difficult times is when my father passed away. And he lost hope. He passed away as a young man at 68. He accepted at that time that the wife that he divorced was not coming back to him, and almost talked himself into letting go. And I think that's one of the things that I have learned about that, is that self-talk is so important, and it's never too late to get started doing some things. Don't lose, it's easy to say don't lose hope, but reach out for resources, and that mental attitude about what you're going through is so critical.
Absolutely. 68 may not sound young to a lot of our younger listeners. Since I have surpassed that sounds very young to me.
Exactly.
You are absolutely right, and thank you for sharing. That mental attitude makes a huge difference. The research shows us that indeed our mental attitude can add years to our lives. And I'm sorry your dad did not realize that.
I am too. He has great grandkids, and I think he would love seeing what they're doing today. So,
well, for what in your life do you feel most grateful?
I feel grateful for my business associates and for my family. I have a business partner and a business manager that are so positive, and we're always, when we get together, it's the synergy of what are we going to do? What are we going to try? And when there's more than one person with that positive attitude, gosh, it just helps to surround yourself with like-minded people, or people that are always improving themselves, always learning. So that's one item. And then, of course, I've been blessed with great family, and that always means a lot too.
I'm often reminded by many of my guests that we really are the five people that we spend our most time with. And relationships are critically important to our health and well-being. Share with us three good things that you've experienced in the last 24 hours.
Gosh, the orange trees are blossoming right now. And the smell when you get out of the car to go into the house is delightful. So we've got an orange tree and a lemon tree in the backyard. And oh my gosh, the smell is incredible. So that would be one. I think the other is the sunshine in the morning when you get up. I love that. And being able to come in and get started, being ready for the call with you today.
I like your 3 good things because it points out the fact that no matter what is going on in our life, there are always good things. And I often tell my students that even on the death of your mother or father, there are good things that you can find within that experience. How are you putting your success as an entrepreneur to work to create universal well-being and abundance for all beings?
Reaching out to help others, giving them a lift up. One of my favorite charities, I work with a group of executives, and our passion is raising funds for a couple of scholarships. And one of them we call Assist. And I love that. It's people that are going back to school and changing careers and getting help to move forward. It's a terrific opportunity. And the organization is Executive Women International, EWI, and they have a passion for helping people get that education. So I think that's a wonderful, and it doesn't have to be that group, just helping others, giving them a help up. We just recently hired an intern. He's in his schooling and giving him an opportunity to learn the business. So I think when you are in the business, giving others an opportunity to learn from you is so important. Passing that on.
Education is so vitally important, and I think it is one thing that in the United States we take for granted and do not realize its importance. There's one thing you did not mention that you are doing to help create well-being. That is your whole business structure is there to provide financial assistance to people who could very likely end up like your uncle did without that assistance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a big part of how we run our business is education. Just come in and get a second opinion about what you're doing. And we offer those second opinions at no charge to help our clients. And in today's world, if people are afraid to come in person, we do lots of those Zoom meetings, but just being available for people that need help with financial planning. Thank you for bringing me back to that. That's really true.
It really is, yes. And oftentimes we don't even think about the good things that we do.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
My last question, imagine that you've come to the end of your life and you're looking back on your life. What is it that you look back on with gratitude and value the most and appreciate the most?
Obviously, family and friends. No one is going to remember if I worked 12 hours on a Saturday. And I think that's really important to take the time to be with family when they need you and not be selfish about that. And I don't think any of us, it's really a balance. I have to work at that balance all the time. And I hope I win that battle, that I've had the balance, that I still can have passion about my business and helping others while still taking care of those people that are close to me and that they feel I was there for them.
Kim, it's been a delight having you today, and you have enlightened all of us. So thank you for being on.
Well, thank you. It was terrific, and I appreciated the question. It's been a wonderful day. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Estate Investing Abundance, brought to you by Steve Talker Capital, a company working for passionate professionals like you to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steve Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine. These endeavors attempt to enhance the human treatment of horses worldwide. Steve Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. For resources to develop your financial independence, connect with us at stevetalker.com.